Good afternoon, everyone, from Dunrovin Ranch in Lola, Montana, on a lovely summer afternoon. We're here to talk with you about our lovely Osprey family. We have a number of you who are joining us for the first time in the last couple of weeks, and we'd like to get you acquainted with our terrific Osprey family. You know, the Ospreys are really the ones who are responsible for getting this whole program going. I entered into a collaboration with the University of Montana some years ago to put up an web camera above the Osprey's nest. And since then, we've turned this whole thing into multiple web cameras, and the Osprey keep coming, much to our delight. And I know many of the members who are watching us today have been with us since the very beginning. And what I'd like to do today is bring those of you who are not acquainted with Ospreys up to the level where you are enjoying it as much as all of us here are. Today with me, I have Cherie, who is one of our wonderful staff members at Dunrovin, and she's a woman with multiple talents. She's not only a great horseback rider, but she just completed her junior year in wildlife conservation at the University of Montana. And last year, she served as a student intern for Project Osprey, which was the original project that got us started. So when she applied for a job, I thought, wow, this gal is exactly the right person for us. So, Cherie, hello. Can you say hello to everyone?
Hello, I'm here. Thanks for the good introduction.
Yeah. Cherie has been working on putting together a little slide presentation to, first of all, acquaint you with the species in general, with, what are ospreys? How do they fit into the categories of all the other birds that are around here? So, Cherie has developed a short little PowerPoint presentation that she's going to walk us through to explain some of the things about the life history of ospreys. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Cherie.
All right, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here, and we'll get this presentation pulled up, and we'll get to know these osprey a little bit more. All right. Oops. All right, so here we go, right into it. Osprey are unique because they are one of only 3 predatory birds that are found on every continent except Antarctica. It's a bit tough to live on Antarctica. So that's really cool. You can see in this diagram there that the birds that live in more northern climates do migrate south in the winter, but it's very unique that they are one of 6 bird species overall that do have a cosmopolitan range. Another unique thing about osprey is that they have a family of their own. So you can see in these diagrams that you go down the classification levels for every living thing, and many have families that branch off into lots of genus and species. But the osprey have a family of their own, so they are a unique raptor in their family. Lots of things evolutionary make them that way, but it's very cool to see that only 4 subspecies live in this one family. Their lifespan is that they live about 15 to 20 years on average. Here is a photo of Iris, the matriarch at the Hellgate nest, and she is estimated to be 24 years old, which makes her the oldest known living osprey that we know of.
And Cherie, tell people where the Hellgate nest is with respect to Dunrovin.
Yes. So the Hellgate nest is located in Missoula College, so about 20 miles away in Missoula along the Clark Fork River, right across the river from the University of Montana. As for diet, ospreys are specially adapted to catch fish. Here's a nice photo of one diving. You can see some of their unique characteristics, such as the M shape in the wings and how they bowl their talons like that. And we will be talking about all the special adaptations for catching fish in a future broadcast. But just so you know what they eat fish, and that's why they are such good research birds for us and why Project Osprey is focused on them, because the fish hold the key to the river's ecosystem health as a whole. So if we study the ospreys, We can learn a lot about the rivers themselves. Ospreys, for habitat, nest in tall solitary trees or man-made structures. Man-made platforms are erected when we find osprey nests on power poles, as was the case at Dunrovin, because the power poles are obviously a dangerous place for the ospreys to nest. So we give them a nice tall platform, and they are a bird that is very, very tolerant of humans. So they hang out right here at the ranch, right, probably about 50 feet behind me right now. And you can see this is Dunrovin set up with the camera and the perch. Someone bringing a fish in. In the breeding season, ospreys can raise up to 3 chicks a year. Both parents are very involved in raising the chicks. And they, like I said before, the ones that live here do migrate south in the winter, which is another topic we will talk more about. There's been a lot of research, including satellite tracker packs to see where these chicks are going. And banding, which we'll talk about next week, is another helpful way. We put these big blue bands on them to identify where they're at when they get photographed on their journey south and back north. They do return to where they were born most of the time for migration. So very interesting habits surrounding that. And I believe that is the end of what I have so far. You can see our nice website, which you are all currently on there, and some credit and thanks to.
Thank you, Cherie. That's a really good kind of overview. And I wanted to say, I know we have some viewers from Florida, and your osprey don't migrate, or at least some of them don't. You have basically 2 populations of osprey down on the Gulf of Mexico. Our birds tend to go back there for the winter and come up here in the summer, but there are other birds that stay there year round. And of course, the birds that nest up here in the north have to leave in the wintertime because the waters freeze often. And so they don't have access to their fish resources. But ospreys are kind of a unique bird because they have these 2 populations, some of which are migratory and some of which are not. It's kind of an interesting feature to that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. And I'm going to share a movie that I put together. And this is intended to show all of you a little bit of what's been happening this year. I want to catch you up as to what's been happening this year. All right. So you should be seeing a black screen right now, and I'm about to start this short movie. And I'm going to start by looking at Harriet, a photo of Harriet. And the reason I'd like to focus on this for a moment is we are able to identify Harriet specifically because of her eyes. She has these black specks in her eyes. And this is something that we noticed right away. In fact, this photo of Harriet is from 2012. So it's a long time ago. And here's the photo of her from this year. I'll get this started. Here it is from this year. And you can see that the number of flecks in her eyes have gotten more. There are a lot more of them. And I don't have any idea of whether this clouds her vision or not. It doesn't seem to, but it really is a unique marker for Harriet. So when Harriet lands each year, the first thing we do is check out her eyes. So let's go back to when she landed this year. Okay, this is her first landing, and look at the date. That's on April 27th, and this was a touchdown, okay? And then what Harriet does when she first comes is a couple of things. First, she rests up from the big flight north, and she starts to eat again. She fills herself up. And as soon as she is rested, she will start building her nest. So this is just a few days later, April 2nd. And I put this video together of, it's kind of a fast motion video to show you just how industrious she is. So let's just watch her build her nest for a couple of days. Fast motion. Busy beaver. Notice all the little beavers. They come up and feel the baby. They make nests in her nest in the catacombs below. And if you think about it, it's very smart of them because the osprey fish, they don't prey on other little birds, but hawks sometimes do. So the little birds, this osprey has protected. They live underneath the osprey. They don't get afraid of them. Now watch, the things you say, and most of them are able to disappear because little birds do it. Okay. Now we have a short video of Harriet in slow motion folding and unfolding her wings. And the reason I'm showing this is to show you those unique wings that ospreys have with this elbow, this V-shaped. You'll see that it creates a V when she goes to take off. She's got gorgeous wings. And again, you can look at the nest by this time. She's got it full of hay and she's ready to go. Okay, then Swoop arrived, and what a male does is, I'm going to turn the sound down so people can hear me, but this is the way the male demonstrates his dedication to her, is to bring her fish and then to help her build her nest as well. So this was the first fish of the year, and you may have noticed it doesn't have a head. And that's very common, that the male will catch a fish and eat the head himself and bring the rest to the nest. Sometimes he brings live fish to the nest, but oftentimes they are headless because that's how he feeds himself first. So in this case, you'll notice that the feeding went on clear into the darkness of the night. So this is 8 o'clock, 8:30 at night, well, after dark, when you're watching here through our infrared night light. And then he participates in nest building right along with Harriet. And here's a short clip of both of them bringing a stick to the nest. Again, look at the date. We're now at April 11th. All right. So she arrives first. He comes. He demonstrates his ability to take care of her by bringing her fish and helping her build the nest. And then the next thing, of course, is that she will ultimately lay some eggs. She's trying to put it right where he is. This is not unusual that they get at cross purposes with these big sticks. And look how deep that nest bowl is getting. In fact, that nest bowl can get so deep that the viewers have a very difficult time seeing the eggs, and we have to speculate how many eggs she has in there because we can't see into the bowl because it's getting deeper and deeper. And that, of course, is to keep the eggs warm and to keep those tiny chicks from falling out of such a big nest. It seems like every osprey has its own idea of nest decorating. And I have to say that Swoop this year brought up plastic bags, which were really afraid of, and a lot of horse apples. The horse apples aren't too much of a problem, but the plastic bags are. They can be very dangerous. One of them flew out, but the other one stayed for a long time. Now, here's a little clip of Swoop catching a fish right down in the river behind Dunrovin. And watch this. In he goes, and out he comes. And that's where these wings are really important. Here's a slow motion with a little bit of a digital zoom so you can see this more clearly. He goes feet in first, and then his wings would have to pull him out of the water. So look at them, they go up and then out, up and out. And that's why they have those elbows in their wings, is to bring them out of the water. Ospreys are also the only birds that shake in air. They'll shake the water off to lighten the load. So this particular time, Swoop caught that fish, and then we were able to follow him all the way back to the nest. And you can see he ate the head off of that fish as well. And again, look at the date. We're now near the end of April, April 21st, a little bit past mid-April. And so Harriet laid 3 eggs this year on April 22, 25, and 27. And our first glimpse at the first chick we got in the middle of the night. And again, look how deep that bowl is. You can barely see that chick. The chicks hatched in May 27, 29, and 31. So this is chick number 1. And because of our night lights, you can see it in the middle of the night, and clearly it happened somewhere before this. This is the first little chick. And look at the date. It's the 28th. So it was hatched on the 27th, and this is its first night. Okay. The next morning, we get a better view of the hungry chick. And I see that somebody asked about a 3-egg limit. Actually, there is not a limit. Some ospreys have successfully fledged up to 4 chicks, but it gets really, really difficult to feed 4 chicks. And most of the osprey that have successfully hatched 4 chicks are on the coast, where food is more certain. So you'll see larger clutches of ospreys near the coast than you will in inland, where we are. And look at all the duff. We call that duff, and that's hay and strips of bark that they line the nest with to keep everybody warm and safe, and also to keep them clean. So here's chick number 1's first meal, and look how tiny they are. You can see the little white spot on the tip of its beak. That is what the chick uses. It's a hard spot, uses to break through the egg. And it is escaping me the name of that, and I know Celia, who's on the chat right now, can put the name of that in. Celia, bail me out here, will you? Is it an egg something? Egg tooth. Thank you, Celia. That's terrific. Yeah, egg tooth. They're all born with that, and it disappears over the first month. But that's the hard spot that the chick uses to break open the egg from the inside out. Okay, so from 1 chick, we go to 3 chicks. And this one in the front is the one that's most recently hatched, and you can see it's having a harder time manipulating things. These chicks grow so fast, you can tell the difference between one day and the next. It's just exponential growth. And I want to say that during this period, the chicks are incredibly vulnerable. If they aren't fed continuously, they are in danger of starving. They are, of course, attractive to other predators. But this is really the issue: is the whole family's dependent on swoop, and he is an incredible fisherman. And I just want to show you, this is him bringing fish on just one day, June 10th. His first fish came before dawn at 6:14 in the morning. And I just don't understand how he can be such a good fisherman that he's out there fishing at night. Because clearly you have to be able to see the fish to catch them. And you can see already the difference in just 2 weeks in the size between what you were just watching a moment ago and their size now. At this point, you can still tell which one was the one that hatched last. He's the one kind of behind the other two. But I think all of the people who have been watching with us this year would agree that these chicks were just not at all combative and competitive. And in part, I think it's because Swoop was such a good provider. Those chicks never went wanting for food. And I think it had a really big impact on their behavior, because if the chicks do want for food, then it becomes a pecking order. And in fact, the older chicks can actually kill the younger chicks. And the theory is, of course, that that's the best thing for the Osprey family to do. She doesn't, favor one chick over the other, but the oldest one is more capable of getting the food than the younger ones. And it's better to have one or two really strong chicks survive as opposed to three who are very weak. So here's his second fish. So we bought one at 6 in the morning. Now here's one at 10:14. And this was a big fish. And look at the rainy day that it is. This is exactly when our river was flooding. So he's having, the fishing conditions are not good, and it's cold and miserable out there. And these chicks without a lot of food would be in real trouble. But he is able to bring these fish on a very regular basis. And you can see this one he brought right in. He did not take the head and eat it himself. And at this stage, Harriet does all of the feeding. She tears the fish apart and feeds the chick. And again, you can see how polite they are with one another. She just does a really good job of tearing it up and feeding it, and feeds herself last. She feeds her chicks first, always. This is when we call them at the dinosaur stage. You can see the older ones really do look like dinosaurs. In fact, many people call birds the dinosaurs that made it, because, they have been around since the day of the dinosaurs. Go ahead and ask any questions that you might like. I can see the chat, so if anybody has a question or a comment, I'd like to hear them. Okay, he brings another fish at close to 1 o'clock, and no one's interested in it. They're all full from the last fish. So even Harriet doesn't even get up. Everybody's full. So I think Swoop's just going to take off and eat it himself. He starts eating it right there on the nest. Again, this is really speaks highly of the skills of this male bird, to be able to consistently bring fish on a day like this day, rainy, cold, with high water. And here comes another fish, a big fish, around 5:50, close to 6. That's a big pike that he brought in. And look at how she has to grab the fish out of his talons. And the reason for that is, unlike your hand and my hand, which when we are relaxed is opened, the osprey, when their talons are relaxed, it is closed, and that's to help them carry fish. They don't have to use muscles to close their talons. They have to use muscles to open it. So when he lands, he has a really strong grip, and it takes him a minute to release his muscles so that she can grab the fish from him. So this is a very big fish. Now remember, this is the third fish of the day, the third big fish of the day. This is a northern pike. This makes all the difference. The fact that Swoop is such a good fisherman has just been an incredible asset to this family. All three of these chicks have just been thriving, and you can see it when you watch the camera right now. These chicks are as healthy as can be, and that has not been the norm in western Montana right now. There have been a large number of nests that are failing for lack of fish. And this all just relies tremendously on this male bird. That's a good question. Why does Harriet go for the head of the fish, not take it by the tail or the middle? I don't know. That's a really good question. But here comes the last fish of the day, and look at it's dark again. By the end of the day, Swoop brings in another fish at 10 o'clock at night. This guy is incredible. Maybe Celia, she kills it by starting at the head. That's the easiest way to kill it. If you take the brain, then the rest of the fish dies. So there another big fish after dark, and in the middle of the night, that fish is still there, and she wakes up the chicks and feeds them. So here we're having, a midnight snack later in the night. This Swoop is really an impressive bird. Actually, this is the first feeding, but I'm pretty sure that um, she wakes them up in the middle of the night and feeds them again. Yep, there she goes in the morning, 4 in the morning. She still has parts of that fish left over. So she goes over, wakes them up, and starts feeding them again. Now, this makes all the difference in terms of the health of the chicks and the strength and the what they will have to make that big migration at the end of the summer. You can see that their um, egg tooth are gone. No more little white spots on the top of their beaks. It's all gone by now. Her timing is a little bit off, and it often is. But she's a very experienced mom and just does a really good job with all of these chicks. I think since she's been here at Dunrovin, that she and her partners have hatched 21 eggs, and 17 of those fledged. So that's a very good track record in terms of raising chicks. Okay, so right now we're at the time where all of the chicks have their flight feathers, and they're learning to fly by doing what we call helicoptering. And look at the date. This was just 2 days ago. But take a moment and enjoy this little bit of helicoptering. The, the chicks are going to be flying very soon, within weeks, within maybe even a week. So the wind picks up, and that encourages them to do a little bit of helicoptering. It can, of course, get out of hand and carry the chick off, which it did one year. It landed on our roof of the barn, one of the chicks basically fell off the nest while it was trying to helicopter. It stayed there for quite a while, then disappeared into the forest, and we were all worried about it. Couldn't find it, but it made its way back to the next nest the next day. And look at them, they land on each other. They're not in control. These are teenage drivers at this point with their learner's permit. You can see the wind is really picking up here. All three of the chicks get involved in this helicoptering. And notice that you really can't tell the difference now between the first chick that was hatched and the last chick. They are all such healthy big chicks. And you can see their ankle bracelets. That's all of the banding that the scientists do. And Sheree and I will talk about that next week, give you kind of an in-depth understanding of all of that. Now listen here. They are really enjoying that wind. They're out of control. Storm is going through our valley here. And a large bolt of thunder scared them off. And look at how they disappear into that nest. They lie flat down in the nest. And look at how well camouflaged they are. Flying over, you would hardly know that they were there. They just blend in. And that's, of course, the way they remain safe. They have a special call, mother calls, and they lay down flat. And of course, they do it instinctively as well. But there are times when you'll see the nest and you can barely see the chicks at all because they're just flat down on the surface that way for protection. So that's what I have today, and I'm hopeful that this catches all of you up to the point where you now know a little bit about our ospreys um, and will enjoy watching them. Are there any questions? I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure Cherie can answer them as well in the chat. Yeah, Celia remarks it is scary for us viewers at times when we see this helicoptering or something scary go over. And when you watch the osprey's nest for a while, you'll get to understand the different cheeps of the birds, the different sounds that they make. You'll understand when the mother, when Harriet or Swooper is calling and saying, "There's an intruder, get down." You'll understand them when Harriet and the kids are yelling, "Here he comes with a fish." They have a vocabulary, and it's not difficult to understand as you stick with the watching the nest. You'll learn all of these things. So unless there are any questions, I'm going to call it good for today. I hope you'll join us next week at this time for more information on the Osprey. I also wanted to point out to everybody that we just added a really fun event to the calendar for this coming Sunday. We have partnered with a new business called Mammals that does live streaming with people from across the world focused on nature and animals. And this Sunday, they are going to be holding a bunch of sessions, live stream sessions focused on wolves. They're going to take you to a wolf sanctuary. They're going to talk to some wolf experts and show some videos of wolves in the field. And you're welcome to come along. That will be this Sunday starting at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. So we hope you'll join us then. And unless there are any other comments or questions, Cherie and I will say goodbye. Bye, everyone.